Rockies baseball is back, and with that comes us being extremely pissed off about our bullpen. Is the bullpen more to blame for the losses, or is it more of our lackluster offense? We get into that conversation next on the DNVR Rockies podcast. What's up, everyone? Welcome into the podcast. Happy Tuesday, our first Tuesday show of the regular season, and we are live from the Toyota Lounge here. Christian Saez, Big Drive Spence, Big Fly Spence, High Drive Spence. Have we decided on your nickname yet?
I don't think we've decided, but I'm in on both of those.
Big Fly Spence feels more baseball.
Yeah,
you know?
I was never one for the homers. I was a line drive over the second baseman's head kind of guy.
Okay, a Kyle Farmer classic, as they call it.
That was my my zone when I played baseball. I was never much of a power hitter.
Yeah, well, neither are the Rockies right now, so you and the Rockies have a lot in common. Just want to give a quick shout out to our friends over at Bet365 today. DNVR Rockies is presented by Bet365. Download the Bet365 app. Use code DNVR365. Deposit $10 and place a bet for $5 to get $150 back in bonus bets. Well, what the hell is going on with the Colorado Rockies, man? We're 5 games in now? 4 games in. We're 1-3, and you have our infuriating losses tally at 1.5.
1.5.
I was shocked that you didn't bring that to 2.
So, yeah, let's talk about yesterday. And in the all-encompassing idea of the bullpen blowing a lead, I think was frustrating, obviously.
Sure.
But frustrating and infuriating to me are two separate things where if you gave me the idea that we were only going to score 1 run yesterday, if you give me that nugget of information, I say the Rockies lose. And are you like, I was texting with some of my buddies actually regarding the Rockies yesterday, and one of my buddies said, does Philly have a bottom of the lineup? Because he's looking at like 6, 7, 8 and Stott and Kyle Schwarber's up there, and they just have a stacked lineup. And if you would have told me that we held them to 0 runs through 6 2/3 innings, essentially, I would have been pretty pleased. But scoring 1 run is never going to do it. And, we are going to get into some frustrations and some anger today. I did give that a half of frustration because we only had a 1-run lead. Now, if that would have been a 3-0 lead and we would have lost 6-3, that might have been worth 1.5 infuriating losses.
What's like the gauge for infuriating losses? Do you feel more pissed off when you blow a lead, or do you feel more pissed off when your starting pitcher has an incredible game but your offense can't keep up, and so you end up losing the game? Because both of them suck, and the Rockies have done both of them so far.
Yeah, I think to me, more infuriating is when the bullpen blows the lead, or you get a lead late and then it's reblown by the bullpen and you have some hope and excitement. Like, to be honest, the game against the Rays, the third game when Feltner started, he ended up having a great start, and we'll get into the starting pitching.
Yeah,
and how solid it's been.
bad inning was it.
But when Lau hits that 2-run home run, I literally wrote the game off at that moment because of how bad the offense had been. And so at that point, that wasn't an infuriating loss. Like, yes, did Tyler Kinley come in and give up some more runs? Was there just a diabolical 6th inning of national media just eating up how bad the Rockies are? Yes, there was. But that game was kind of already over. To me, yesterday, it was like, we weren't scoring either. You get the awesome home run from Goodman. Great to see him raking. And then you're like, I was sitting there like, we're going to have to score some more runs. Like, we're not winning this game 1-0 on Philly's opening day against that lineup. And one thing I do want to say is we'll have plenty of time to be pissed off and infuriated, and everybody's already written the Rockies off, and we've written them off from a standpoint of like, yes, this team isn't making the playoffs. We're moving the goalposts. We have a clear definition of what we think is success this season. But let's not forget, too, I'll put my purple glasses on for just a second, that they are playing the Rays, who, if you saw the graphic, third highest win percentage since 2008 in entire MLB. So that's not a slouch of a team.
Since they got rid of the devil in their name.
Yeah, great pitching, a good overall roster, and a team that probably competes for the playoffs and has been in the playoffs every year, like the last 5 years until last season. And then you're playing the Phillies, a team that won 95 games last year in the bank. They were showing all their pitching stats and how good their starting pitcher was yesterday. He's like the top in the MLB in whiff rate. So if this had happened and the Rockies were 1-3, which is about where we'd expect, I mean, shit, I have expected them to come home for opening day Friday and be 0-6. And they've already won. They've already exceeded those expectations for me, and I think they'll still win in Philly and be 2-4.
Dude, I'm so proud of you that you're taking such a positive approach to this.
Yeah, I mean, if we would if we get swept by the Oakland Athletics in 3 games at home to start the homestand and start opening day, you may get a different me next Tuesday.
Yeah.
But as of right now, you're
time.
playing great. Those are great teams. I mean, Philly has World Series expectations. The Rays are like, should make the playoffs and maybe could make some noise. They got a great bullpen, great starting pitching. So yes, the performance from our end has been not great, but they haven't been doing this against teams that are in the same level as the Rockies. The Rockies have been punching upward, and it showed.
Yeah, I mean, that's such a positive approach to that take. I will say I'm a little bit on the opposite side. I'm feeling a little more frustrated. I think it doesn't matter who you're playing. Rockies have this expectation of like, we need to build this confidence of this young core and all of that kind of stuff. Your bullpen has a 10.8 ERA right now. And a lot of that, although Tyler Kinley plays a huge role in that, a lot of that's fallen on the shoulders of some of the young guys, unfortunately. And so you look at that and I'm like, that just kills your confidence. Anytime you and I have texted each other this, anytime the Rockies get into the 7th inning and the bullpen comes in, you and I are like, we're cooked, right? And that's just us, between the two of us. I would imagine that they feel very similar ways. The confidence cannot be there if you're giving up 10 plus runs across, however many innings pitched they've gone. So that confidence part is a killer for me. But then on top of that, you also have this lack of confidence because your offense is just not able to get up to that mark. You're averaging 2 runs per game at this point. Again, against good pitching. Rays have very good pitching. Phillies had a good pitcher yesterday. But that just doesn't instill confidence. And I was talking to Austin, one of our sales guys who's a diehard Rockies fan, longtime Rockies fan, before the show. And he was saying, in the past, the Rockies have always been this team that has had bad pitching, has had bad bullpens. And even when we've had better pitching, like, it's never been what we've been known for. But you've had hitters who can hit enough home runs and get on base enough, and just, the Bronx Bomber or the Blake Street Bombers, that they can do that enough to offset your bad pitching. So I don't know. Joey in the chat brings up, maybe we need our torpedo bats if we can connect. Like, do we need to get some torpedoes out here? Like, we need our offense to step up.
I was going off on that because yesterday it was kind of, I think our friend Nate said this. I think it was his original tweet that Chris Bryant, KKK Chris Bryant, from yesterday. I know I probably shouldn't have said that, but I had to throw that in.
Give an extra K in there. One more K.
4K Chris Bryant.
Yeah, there you go.
I did refrain from tweeting that yesterday because I wanted to tweet just big Ks, and I was like, we probably shouldn't do that.
Yeah, got to put 4 in there.
I like my job.
I think he has, 10 Ks so far in his last 18 at-bats?
He's 0 for 10 this year, just terrible. But giving him a torpedo bat, you might as well give Chris Bryant an aluminum bat and see what happens. Like, this guy can't hit the ball, so it doesn't matter what.
I just need him to just touch the ball. Like, that's what I'm looking for at this point. Like, just touch the baseball.
Ground out. Yep. And I think yesterday, day off today, we'll see what they do with the lineup tomorrow. But his leash has already been, when you're walking your dog and you're pissed off at him and you pull that leash up halfway, you give him a little bit of space in front of you, and then you pull it up again, and you're like, you're fucking walking right next to me. That's where the Rockies should be with Chris Bryant right now. Like, hey, this is your last straw.
I give them credit. They did make the right decision the other day when they made Goody the DH and had Chris Bryant take, as they called it, a day off. But I think in general, we're at this point right now where how long do you actually let this keep going? Chris Bryant is healthy right now. Apparently he put on some weight physically, he put on some size this offseason from the people who are around him at camp and stuff during spring training. How long do you really go? How long do the Rockies go before they say they have that conversation of hey man, look, we're just gonna sit you from here on out. You've got too many young guys, too much depth in your rotation to have him take away from at-bats. Hell, even from some of the other veterans. Sean Bouchard looked better in spring training than Chris Bryant did. I was on the train of hoping that Chris Bryant was going to bounce back, and don't get me wrong, he's 10 at-bats in. But even in spring training, aside from his one home run, which at this point I'm almost even wishing he hadn't hit it, right? Because I think that's what everyone's holding on to is, well, he hit one 450 feet in spring training. There must be something still there. Everything else besides that home run has showed us like he just doesn't have it. He doesn't look good. And I wish it wasn't true. I wish this was a bounce back year for him, man, but it just doesn't look like that's going to be the case.
No, it doesn't look like it's shaping up that way. But kudos to Bud Black and the Rockies for taking him out of the lineup and leaving what's arguably your most consistent best hitter in a very young season. We're not even are we even basically 2% through the season at this point, 1%?
No.
And they left Hunter Goodman in the game. They let him DH. They got Stallings. That's two good positive moves in the right direction. Number one, starting Goodman from day one at behind the dish. Mm-hmm. Then, as a catcher, there's no Yadier Molinas out there anymore. These guys go maybe 2 of every 3 games, 3 of every 4. Put Stallings back there and said, hey, Chris, you're going to take a seat. We're going to play Goodman again. He rewards you with a base hit. And then he hits his first home run yesterday. And that bat right now has to stay in the lineup. Yeah. So I would be very surprised if Chris Bryant, I guess with a day off today, maybe maybe Goodman will catch again tomorrow, but I'd be very, very surprised if Chris Bryant is in the lineup tomorrow.
And Joey asked the question, will we cut ties soon? I've talked about this before of like, what are the Rockies' options here? You can't, like the Rockies don't have the ability to trade him, obviously. And to be completely honest with you, I just don't think the Rockies are in a situation where they're going to cut him per se. I think that it's just a PR nightmare when you say, we gave $100 and something million to this guy and we could barely even get 4 years into our relationship with him before we had to cut him. I just think he ends up being this kind of glorified, extra guy on the roster that just never really sees any playing time unless someone gets hurt or someone needs, Rockies are down by 5. They need to put a DH in or a pinch hitter in, I should say, and they give Chris Bryant a chance. Like, I just see that being the world we live in. So I don't think they'll cut ties with him, but I do think there is a situation in which you say, look, man, you're just not going to get any playing time anymore. And I think that's the way that we're headed. Now, Chris Bryant aside, the rest of the Rockies offense has been absolutely terrible. Your barrel rate is at 2%, the second lowest in all of baseball. Whiff rate is insanely high. You're averaging almost 11 strikeouts per game at this point. Bottom 5 in all of baseball offensively as a team. And again, this was one of those things where you say, if our bullpen's not going to be good, your offense at least needs to make up for some of that ground. Give me 5 runs per game. Small sample size, playing against good teams, all of those things in mind. Who do you think is more to blame for the Rockies' early losses? Is it the bullpen or is it the bad offense?
I think as of right now, I'm still going to blame the bullpen because yesterday's game, yes, you need to score more runs, but ultimately if you hand your starter goes 6 innings of no-run baseball against a great lineup like that, you got to pick him up and finish that game. Like, did I expect that to happen? No. But that's where a really good team, which we don't think the Rockies are at yet, a really good team wins that game 1-0 yesterday, or tacks on 1 in the 8th, wins 2-0, something like that. Like you use your starter, go 6 innings, which we saw his pitch count relatively speaking, get a little up there, which was good to see from Marquez. But I think when you have your starters have allowed essentially 2 runs in 4 starts, and all of them have covered just about or an average of at least 5 and some change in innings, you got to have a better record than 1-3. And a lot of those games, yes, they're scoring 2 runs, 1 run, whatever. But I'm still on the bullpen. I think if they come home to Coors Field, like at Coors Field, your bullpen's more likely to blow a 7-5 lead than a 1-0 lead. And those are going to be when those infuriating losses start cranking up because you're scoring 7 runs. You expect your offense to score, if they get the 4 or 5 run mark and you have a lead going into the 7th inning, 8th inning, I expect to win that game. And they're just not like Victor Vodnik. It's unfortunate because a week ago, before we watched any games, we said, who's going to be your closer? And I think after 1 week, it's pretty definitive who your closer is. Yes, it's early. Yes, we can't overreact because these guys are young. But Vodnik single-handedly lost the first game of the season with giving up the walk-off home run to a guy that's never hit his first major league hit, for God's sakes.
Never hit a home run in his life.
Yeah, and granted, you can put some of that on Buddy too. I mean, Vodnik pitched a scoreless 8th inning, goes back out there for the 9th and gets shelled. And yesterday, he comes in, very high leverage situation. Scott Alexander was shaky, but they had a chance to get out of that inning with the 1-run lead and kind of then parlay that into a good 8th and get to Halverson, and he gives up a double. And then to make matters worse, he gives up a home run the next batter, where it's like 2-1 feels not great, but 2-1, every player you send up there is a chance at tying the game. 4-1, you've got to have multiple things go right. And with the Rockies lineup, like you talked about, we've had some great individual performances. McMahon on opening day, 3 for 3. Bretton Doyle yesterday, your leadoff hitter goes 3 for 3, gets on base 4 times, and none of the times he was on base, you got him around. You got 1 home run
Runners
off
in scoring
Goodman.
position is just tough for the
it's
Rockies.
bad. It's really bad.
It is. There's so many different sides to this. We're going to hit this next break, but after the break, I do want to talk about something that I feel like is going to balance itself out as the season gets going. And I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing yet, so you guys be the judge of that, but we'll get to that when we come back. Got to give a shout out right now, though, to our friends over at Monarch Money. Finances, look, it's messy. Finances can be hard. I know that. You guys know that. Even I have some friends who are really on top of their finances, and even they say that it's hard to keep track of everything, right? Like, we have so many subscriptions, so many different little things that you buy throughout the day, throughout the week, throughout the month, and you got to make sure you keep track of all of that. Monarch Money is incredible when it comes to keeping track of your finances and keeping everything organized. I've been using Monarch Money for a little bit now, and I cannot say enough good things about it. I think one of the crazy things too, I was looking, we have dogs, my wife and I have dogs, couple dogs, we've had dogs for years, and it shows you your expenses and things that you've spent for years. And looking back to 2023, Marissa and I have spent $7,000 on our dogs. I saw that and I'm like, all right, guys, guess you guys are going to be living on the streets from here on out. I'm like, no, we love our dogs. But it is crazy to see how much that kind of stuff adds up. So keep track of your finances, get control of your overall finances by using our friends over at Monarch Money. Use code DNVR at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code DNVR. Also got to give some love to our friends over at Bet365 because it is baseball season again. And with baseball season means it's betting season for us. Use that code DNVR365 when you sign up. Deposit $10. Choose between either a bet and get offer, placing a bet of $5 or more and getting $150 back in bonus bets, or a first bet safety net offer, placing a bet of up to $1,000. If your qualifying bet loses, you receive a match refund and bonus bets. I got to say, man, it's early. But if we're looking at strikeouts for the opposing team, I'm firing on that
easy winner.
All day.
5+, 6+, 7+. Give me
Phillies
all those.
Strikeouts. Yeah, give me the over on that every single day on Bet365. Rockies are not making you not doing us any favors on that. But hey, if the Rockies are going to lose, you might as well make some money off of it. I know you've made a living out of that.
Yeah, I'm AJ, our friend AJ over at the DNVR Avalanche said I should start a nest egg, so I'm going to call it the Rockies bullpen nest egg for my son.
Okay.
And just keep adding to his 5.29 plan. And I was like, 5.29, that sounds like the Rockies bullpen ERA. Hopefully it gets down to that at some point. That
Let's
sounds
cut
like
our 10 ERA in half, get it to a 5.29.
Sounds like a decent number for them to, pitch the rest of the
So
year.
you're going to be putting your kid through college via the Rockies bullpen.
Correct.
Got
yeah.
it. Love
and
it.
lack of offense at this point right now.
At this point, hey, we hope it gets better, but at the moment, you might as well capitalize on it. Again, using our friends over at Bet365. Use that code DNVR365 when you sign up. See why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 or older and physically located in Colorado. Please gamble responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, so I was talking about balancing the scales here before this break, and I think there's an interesting thing that I feel like we're going to end up seeing as this season goes on. It's great that the starting pitching for the Rockies has been incredible. Very happy to see that. Happy to see Herman get back out there. Happy to see Kyle Freeland on, opening day looking really good. But I do think that this is kind of more of a flash in the pan than what we're going to see long-term for the Rockies, especially when we start seeing our pitchers come back to Coors Field. And on the flip side of that, I think our offense is also going to start picking up. So we're going to be living in this world here, I think, in the next couple weeks where starting pitching kind of comes back down to earth and our offense picks up a little bit more. We know the Rockies have 3 guys, if not more, who are 20-plus home run, 20 stolen base guys. Michael Toley, I still am on the train that he's going to be a 30 home run plus hitter this year. I think there's a world in which the Rockies offense becomes sustainable at some point. You got to get rid of the Ks. I'm not as worried about the offense, though, as I am the bullpen. I just think as a whole, Rockies pitching, it just doesn't instill confidence in me at this point, at any point. And so if our offense can make up for some of that, it can offset some of that loss that we're seeing on the pitching side, I'll be okay with it. But at this point, man, I just don't have the confidence that the Rockies have the depth at this point to compete against teams like the Phillies or the Rays.
No, you're exactly right. And kind of alluded to it earlier, but basically you're going to start seeing games go into the 7th like it did yesterday with maybe the Rockies having a lead, but that lead's not going to be 1-0. It's going to be 5-4, 6-4, 6-3, something of that nature. If we're seeing a 7th inning lead, that's me being a little bit of a homer and hoping for that. But I think starting pitching is going to go slightly downward. I mean, you're going to have a couple of starts, especially at Coors Field, where it's 4-0 by the 2nd inning and you're down. And that's just how it goes. We know Coors Field. We know the Rockies pitching in general. But I do think instead of it being a hopeless 4-0 lead, it's more of like, all right, now we got to get the bats going, and we could see a 5-run inning, 6-run inning. I've seen over the course of my life going to Coors Field for 20 plus years, I know that those are coming. So I think we're going to see a lot of overall, wins and losses, team success right about the same spot that it's at right now. 1-3 is that's a 40 pace win. I think they're going to be better than that, but we're going to see games just shift differently, where going into the 5th and 6th inning, you're going to see a 3-4, not a 1-0. So I think that water's going to find its level on both the starting pitching, but the offense, and you nailed that. Like that, it's overall team success is going to stay the same, but there are going to be some moving parts within a game that we're going to see change.
Yeah, well, we got a lot to talk about on the show. We're going to talk about City Connects. We got some leaks coming through on the City Connect side of things. We're going to talk about the situation around opening day and home opener. But one of the things I want to talk about, and Joey just brought it up, was what's the move with Gomber when he returns? We getting Blaylock starred or just skipping his spot with an off day today? I do think they're going to skip his spot. I think Blaylock, from what I've heard, even just on the broadcast, he's looking like he's more of a long reliever at this point. To be honest, that feels like a waste to me. I think Blaylock in the bullpen isn't where he's most comfortable. We saw it yesterday. He comes into the bullpen and he gives up a home run. Was it 2 home runs? Did he give up 2 home runs?
Home runs, yeah.
And look, like I've seen Blaylock start against the Yankees, against the Dodgers, against really good teams, and look consistent. I think he's the type of guy that needs to be coming into the starting rotation at some point. And if you're not going to have him in the starting rotation, I'm actually more comfortable with him going down to AAA, send him back down to Albuquerque, get the experience he needs, get the innings out there, and wait until we figure out is Austin Gomber going to be a long-term solution for the Rockies. I don't know if he is. Gomber's coming back from injury. He didn't look very good to start the year because of the injury, spring training-wise. Yeah, I don't really know what their plan is with Bradley Blaylock. I just don't like having him in the bullpen.
Yeah, I agree with that. I do think the schedule, the way it sets up, so off day today, and then they'll play Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Which is just weird that they have an off day one day after their...
play Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, sorry. And yeah, I guess what I heard is, I did an event in Philly, and I guess what they do is, because the opening day rains out so much in Philly, that they give this extra built-in day to like wait to see if opening day was going to get rained out. So it is a little bit of a weird schedule for the Rockies to stay in a city and have an off day in a city when you've already played one game. I think that I would venture to guess that happens like once a year to whatever random team. But with the off day today, the Rockies can now roll out their 4 starters that they had already again, go back to what would be Herman Marquez on Sunday, and then they have an off day Monday. So they're not really forced right now to have a 5th starter. And by judging by, Austin Gomber's timeline, if they then have Monday off and roll Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday again, Freeland through Marquez, then on that Saturday game 2 weeks from now, they're going to be looking at like, hey, is Gomber ready for that start? And that may be the case. But I don't disagree with the idea that Bradley Blaylock coming in a 4-1 game in the ninth yesterday is necessarily his spot. Like, long relievers can be very crucial to a team, especially to winning ball games. Like, if your starter just doesn't have it, especially with where we think the Rockies offense could be at Coors Field, when you get down 3-4-0 in the first 2 innings, your starter's having some trouble, you can pull him, and a Bradley Blaylock could be helpful going 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and getting to your bullpen and see if your offense can catch up. I think that's a helpful position. But where the Rockies are at right now, he either needs to be starting or needs to be sent down to AAA.
Yeah.
And I know they probably tried to get him some innings, but yesterday did not look good, and it's just not a spot he's probably comfortable in, I would imagine.
Yeah, he had to pitch yesterday. I mean, he hadn't pitched at all to start this year. You got to keep throwing him out there. It was just, it was a tough situation to put him in. It brings up the question, though, and I've been thinking about this over the last few games. And again, super small sample size, right? We're only 4 games into the year so far for the Rockies. But from what we've seen so far, the Rockies have and will continue to have a very inconsistent lineup that they have out there. You're going to be seeing guys rotating in more than you would normally see on a team that's, let's just say, competing for a playoff spot. We're probably going to start seeing some minor leaguers making their way up to the big leagues. Hopefully that's Zach Veen. Zach Veen's playing very well right now in Albuquerque. But there's going to be a lot of changes that are being made throughout this lineup. Is Chris Bryant going to be your long-term DH? Is Sean Bouchard going to end up, going into that role? What does your outfield look like? What does your catching situation look like? There's so many moving pieces here. Your rotation, your bullpen, like nothing is set in stone. And I know this year the end goal is to answer questions. You're not, again, competing for a playoff spot, so you need to finish this year by answering questions of like, what does this look like long-term? Who's going to be our long-term starter in right field and so on? But I think having an inconsistent lineup is going to end up hurting the Rockies in a wins and losses category. And I think we already saw that. I think we're starting to see just the inability to commit to certain players, again, for a good reason. I think that's going to affect us being able to win. So I'm saying this almost to myself as much as I'm saying it to you guys. Like, I have to remind myself that, like, we might lose games because we're putting guys in situations that maybe they wouldn't be in if this was a playoff team, or maybe they wouldn't be in if you had your lineup more set in stone. And I think the pitching perspective of that is there as well. I don't love Bud Black taking Kyle Freeland out after 67 pitches. I don't love those decisions. None of the fans do. But I think the reality is, like, it just speaks to what this year is expecting to be for the Rockies. And it's frustrating because we all want them to win. But I think that just shows more of what this specific year is going to look like than, this is being a team that's competing for a playoff spot.
Yeah, well, to your point about just the inconsistency in the lineup, you can copy paste Brenton Doyle, 9, Ezekiel Tovar, 6, 1-2 in the lineup, playing center field, playing shortstop. And after that, it is a variety pack. It is a hodgepodge of, Goodman is getting to the point where he can slot in at that 4. But like Ryan McMahon, is he going to be hitting 3rd consistently most of the year? Probably not. You can put him all the way
where
down
you put
at 7,
Estrada
8.
when Estrada comes back.
Exactly. And I think the frustrating part about this is they're already at such a razor thin margin for error that we saw losing Tyro Estrada, bat or no bat, which was his bat was very consistent in spring training. We'll see what it's like in the regular season. But losing Tyro Estrada has already opened up. Then they're making moves for guys like Moniak and bringing in, now I'm blanking on the guy's name.
Tyler Freeman,
on the back of Tyler Kinley pitching, made a costly error in that 3rd game against the Rays that cost you the game, basically, at that time. That should have been a double play ball. He should have been out of the inning. Mm-hmm. Instead, it gets booted. Tovar, that's when
although technically it wasn't an error. They didn't count it as an error, which is shocking to me. That was totally an error.
Yeah, and he's on the other side of the base. And granted, like, I'm not going to shit on Tyler Freeman completely. He made a mistake, but you had Tyro Estrada getting comfortable with Tovar up the middle. Like, whose ball is that? And just some indecision there from a guy that is a second baseman, but also a center fielder.
And kind of a veteran in Estrada who, knows how to make those plays, knows who's going which direction.
Exactly, and he's a second baseman. Freeman can play second base, but he also can play. He's also a backup outfielder. Like, he's not a consistent spot there. And so just little things like that we cannot get away with. Other teams can get away with those. Right now, when you have that big of a mistake that then turns into just a mess of a sixth inning and a 2-2 ball game, you just tied it up, you feel good about it. I'm talking about the Sunday game against the Rays, turns into a 6-2 loss. The bullpen looks bad, and everybody just is kind of like, oh, that the whole sixth inning was a mess. And yeah, it's frustrating, but if Tyro Estrada's there, does he make that play? Who knows? But it dives the frustration even deeper, considering that he was supposed to be starting there and is now already hurt before the season even started.
Yeah. No, I agree with you, man. And it's part of the growing pains of, being early in the season, all of that kind of stuff. But it's something you just have to keep an eye on as things go on. Hey, look, we're going to take a break, but after this break, I want to do a new segment that you actually thought up called The Good, the Bad, the Rocky. That's coming up next here on the DNVR.
That's exactly where my mind was when I was thinking about that.
All right. Well, now the baseball season's back. That means our friends at Game Time are also back because, you're going out to games at Coors Field this summer. There's tons of them, tons of opportunities to go watch baseball at Coors Field. You got to check out our friends over at Game Time. They make getting tickets faster and easier and cheaper than any other ticket platform on the market. Have you looked at the opening day tickets, by the way?
I heard that they're going down.
They're pretty cheap. Weather, I think, plays a factor.
Weather is hurting us, but I'm glad I didn't, because we are going now, confirmed babysitter later.
Nice.
Going to full opening day. Obviously, we have the party at Win Coop. Come join us. All diehards get a drink for free. Win Coop before opening day. Come hang out. But I am glad I did not get my ticket yet, because I am going to wait closer to game time, use the Game Time app, and probably get in for about a quarter of what I was originally planning, the $80 to $100 range. Now that I know I can go to the game,
they're down
feel
to the
very
70s.
comfortable, but I think they're down even lower than that.
Yeah.
So I am excited, and I'm definitely going to use the Game Time app and use our friends over at the Game Time app to get your tickets for every single one of these Fridays that we're going to do.
It's going to be great, man. It's going to be a lot of fun. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app. Create an account. Use code DNVR for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account. Redeem code DNVR for $20 off. Download that Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Well, with the return of baseball season, that also means the return of Coors Light. Not that it ever went anywhere, but again, the vibes they're right. When you're at Coors Field drinking a Coors Light, it plays. It really does. If you're going to be watching the Rockies blow a seventh inning lead at Coors Field, my God, you need at least a couple.
Best
Coors
believe
Lights.
I'm going to be double fisting. I think alcohol sales end at the top of the seventh, or maybe
so
seventh inning stretch.
That.
So late sixth inning, I don't care if the Rockies are rallying. I'm double fisting, so I'm getting my way through.
Whether the Rockies are winning or losing, it's just an absolute way to go. Coors Light, you got to embrace that chill mindset, especially going to baseball games. Choose to chill. Choose Coors Light. Get Coors Light delivered straight to your door with Instacart by going to CoorsLight.com/DNVR. Celebrate responsibly. Coors Brewing Company based in Golden, Colorado. All right, it's time for our new segment, The Good, the Bad, the Rocky, where we talk about something good, something bad, and something that's just so classic Colorado Rockies. I'll start things off. Good for me. And this one's kind of this one just makes sense. No surprises here. Hunter Goodman, playing incredible baseball so far in a Colorado Rockies uniform. He is our MVP to start things off. Had our only run yesterday. And also, I don't know if you had noticed this too, his two at-bats before his home run were like lasers to Bryce Harper at first base. I mean, he looked, every single one of his at-bats, except for I think his strikeout, looked really good.
Could have been 3 for 3 going into that after the home run in the seventh inning.
Yeah, so Hunter Goodman's my good. I do have one more good, but I want to hear yours first.
My good, and Hunter Greatman is what Hank coined.
Hunter the Goodman. Yeah.
We love that. My good right now has got to be the starting pitching. I'm extremely impressed with these guys. I know it's a boilerplate answer, but you gave us the off the beaten path answer, so I'm going to go with let's talk about what it is. If we can talk about how bad certain parts of the Rockies are, the good has definitely been the starting pitching. All 4 guys look decent. Freeland looked great. Marquez looked 20. God, it was his first start allowing 0 runs, going 6+ innings since 2022. It's crazy to think back that far that he hasn't had a consistent game, and he's been in and out of the lineup with injury, obviously the Tommy John, but great to see from Marquez. Like, if that is your 4th starter, this team's going to have a chance to win baseball games no matter how bad your bullpen is. If you're going into the 5th and 6th innings with allowing 2 runs or less, and every other game it was 0 runs or less, you're going to have some success moving forward because things will level out. So good, definitely call out on the starting pitching. I don't know where they've started the last couple of years, but this might be the best 4 starts just in terms of ERA, strikeouts, runs allowed total in Rockies history. I gotta look that up.
Since good against good teams as well. I'll throw one more side, good in here as well. Zach Veen in Albuquerque, 4 hits, 2 doubles over 3 games. He's looking very good. Hoping to see Zach Veen up there pretty soon. Okay, the bad, the fun one. I think the bullpen is the easy answer, but I'm going to get more granular. Again, I know it's hard to put this on Victor Vodnik for his first game because, it was just kind of a weird situation. He was doing the long relief spot type of move. But Victor Vodnik, I was a little nervous about him last year just because his maturity wasn't really there. He was missing his locations. His 100-mile-an-hour fastball was, either to the backstop or right down the middle. I wanted to see him kind of hone that a little bit more coming into this year. And again, early start, but so far it looks like that hasn't really changed. I'm a little nervous about Victor Vodnik. He's going to make the list on the bad to start off.
Yeah, I mean, 2 of the 4 games basically ended. One of them directly ended off of his hands, and yesterday basically was all over once he gave up back-to-back hits.
Yeah.
And Victor Vodnik is definitely part of the bad. I would say the bullpen in general, I mean, Chris Bryant, we touched on that. We don't need to just beat that dead horse literally for the rest of the season. He's been terrible. Overall, the rest of the offense and individual performances, not bad, but the offense in general has been bad. Like, if you look at each guy's numbers, yes, you've got a few really bad, the Chris Bryants, but there's some sprinkled in good days.
You can even put Michael Toley offensively has not been good.
No, he has not been good at all. So I'm going to go give the bad this week to the offense.
Okay, I like it. The other one, my kind of sleeper pick on the bad. Did you see the Hartford Yard Goats put out their new food item that is their what is it? The Float Your Goat, where it's a hot dog in milk or cream or something like that.
This is funny because I
Dumped in
actually
cream. That's
like
the
this.
bad. That's really the bad for me.
I'm going to argue with you.
Oh God,
because I don't eat dairy or drink dairy, whatever you want to call it. I'm pretty much dairy free, no cheese for me, no regular milk. Goat's milk I can't have, so I do fuck with this.
Oh my God.
I'm not saying that combo.
The grossest thing I've ever seen in my life.
I'm not saying that combo's actually going to taste good. I don't necessarily believe that, but goat cheese or milk is a buzzword for me. Like, if I see it on a pizza or on a menu item, I'm usually in. So I am not fully on the bad train on that. I'm on the questionable train.
They even have a vegetarian option for this because they were like, they put out a whole statement saying we heard you, we got a lot of clapback after we put this out, and then they go and release a vegetarian option for that. We all thought they were getting rid of it. No, they're just putting a vegetarian hot dog dunked in goat's milk. The grossest thing I've ever heard of in my life.
I will. The combo.
That's the bad for me.
The combo itself does not lend itself to be appealing, but I'm very try anything, and my wife is the opposite. Like, if she doesn't think she likes it or knows she doesn't like it, she won't even try it. Like, I will try anything until I don't like it.
Okay. So have you tried roasted crickets?
So not
because they have those at Mariner Stadium. That's why I bring that up. That's one of the crazy food items that we've seen out there.
Not formally, but I did. When I was 13, I ate a cricket. Somebody roasted it with a lighter, and I ate it. Kind of as a dare.
That's the most 13-year-old Spencer thing I've ever heard.
But yes, I have eaten a roasted cricket. Theoretically, it was roasted by a Bic lighter, but I would try those.
Gives you the good old Bic flavor on that cricket.
Yeah, that one of my buddy's dads was like, "I bet you won't eat this," and I'm like, "Fucking roast it up, give it to me."
Put it on the barbecue.
He just grabbed one off the ground, gave it a little Bic, and I ate it.
Jeez. So. Classic. All right, the last bit of this, the Rocky, where we talk about something that's just so classic, Colorado Rockies. And my pick on this is having the best defense in all baseball one day, to the point that you end up winning a game via your defense. Because Senzatella didn't look great. He didn't look terrible, but he didn't look great. But your defense won you that game. And then losing a game based on defense the very next day.
Yeah,
that's
that is
so typical Rockies.
That is as Rocky as it gets. I will go with Tyler Kinley as my Rocky. He's so Rocky because not only, yes, he was bad his first outing, right? Second outing, we've all agreed that it wasn't necessarily on him.
No,
we agreed that Tyler Freeman, but when you have a player like that that has just been consistently. I mean, our guy Brett Kane can echo these sentiments. There's everybody that's watched the Rockies for the last 5 years has just a general bad gut feeling. Yeah. Tovar season had a great tweet about it, going from Bird to Kinley. Shout out to Jig Bird. I'll give him a little bit of credit here. He had a great outing.
He did.
He had a great outing. So I don't know how many times I'm going to get to say that the rest of this year. So I will give him his due for that. But Tyler Kinley, even though it's not his fault, you just have that general uneasy feeling when he's pitching. And then just when things go bad for somebody, you have that friend that's like bad luck and it's just, shit seems to keep going wrong. That's how he is.
That's like, Marissa in my life. Yeah. That's my wife.
That's incredible. Yeah. He even gets a ground ball, just a little dribbler right past him. You're like, holy shit, we're going to get out of this. And then just bad happens. So like, whether it's his fault or not, it's just, he is the Rocky of our good, bad, and the Rocky this week.
Yeah.
Just can't feel good about him on the mound.
I know. Well, the sleeper pick for me on the Rocky category is our new City Connect jerseys, which I'm 99.9% positive they are what they are from all the leaks that we've seen. Dion, if you could throw up the Shields screenshot that I have of the t-shirt. I saw someone sent this to me actually this morning on Twitter. Shout out to Hurley on Twitter who sent this to me through DMs. This was on Shields. If you go on to Shields online, you can find, it says coming soon, Nike Colorado Rockies City Connect. What does that say? Something t-shirt. And it's baseball with an altitude. Dumbest slogan I've ever heard in my life. I absolutely hate that. But the point is, this is what I'm given everything we've seen. This has to be our City Connect jerseys. Like color combo.
I feel like I'm gonna like this, and I'm kind of an antagonist, and I know you talked with D-Line on TDSP regarding
we've done this
right?
a couple years or a couple months ago.
He is like, he's a designer. He's designed the entire company's all the branding, and it's great. Like but he's gotten to like old man yelling at clouds. And him and Dwayne, I love both of them, but every design that comes out, they're almost like shitting on it. And I'll give it time to see what the actual design is like. But my base layer of this light blue that we're seeing, this yellow, a little bit of orange, like what can you give people that they like? Everybody hated the green license plate jersey. I kind of liked him. I think
actually more people liked him than didn't like him. I've talked to so many people who loved him. I was on the opposite. I didn't like him at all.
See, I think a lot of people that I talked to, they were like, this is so boring and lame. Yeah. Now they're going completely the other way. They're going away from green. They're going into some light blues. The orange and yellow gets me excited. So I'll wait until the jersey actually comes out to give my final artistic take, which I'm not an artist, but I'm excited.
Here's where the make or break comes on this jersey. I like the color scheme. Powder blues. We had talked about powder purples. Powder blues are good, right? And it looks like you got like some sort of sunset theme, color-wise on the wording, all of that kind of stuff. Everything depends on what your pants look like. If you go white pants with powder blue tops, hate it. Absolutely hate it. If you go powder blue pants, powder blue top, love it. Absolutely love it. So it depends on what we see the rest of the jersey look like. That's kind of where I'm at. I do like... I know D-Line, again, when I was doing the TDSP with it, he's like, I hate when people say clean. I like how clean it kind of looks. Again, we're starting out. Show the picture of the shoes. I sent a couple picture of the shoes. This is why we're looking at, assuming that this is what the City Connect jerseys are going to look like, because they came out with these pictures of the Nike, what is it, Air Max shoes, I believe is what it was. We had, here's the color combo. Same color combo as that shirt. You can see the same design on the inside. Now, D-Line did make a point. A lot of us just like the shoes, and, maybe the design might not be as good. Like, those are sick shoes. I would totally wear those. But, the new City Connects might honestly be the biggest news that comes out of the Rockies this year during the regular season, man.
Dude, I will say the orange and the yellow gets me a little excited.
It does get me excited. I see Eric Simmons in the chat. He says, I think the Rockies need to sell the team to someone who cares. What do you think? I got to say, Barstool Denver posted on Twitter this morning that the Rockies owner, Dick Monfort, was open to breaking news. Rockies owner, Dick Monfort, was open to selling the team. And for like a half a second, it got me.
You.
It was, I had this moment of like, no way. this is going to be huge. And then I realized, oh yeah, it's April 1st. What the hell am I doing? And so shout out to Barstool Denver. They got me. They got me for a second.
I tried to get my mom. My mom's a diehard Rockies fan. I did the whole FaceTime your mom and figure out her TV scenario like 2 days ago. Got her logged into my MLB.Rockies.tv so she can watch two locations. Please don't shut my shit down. I like watching the games. But
They're coming for you, man.
They're
coming for you.
She's dialed in, and I texted her yesterday, and I was like, "Hey, game's at 1. Like, pay attention." And then this morning, I was like, "How can I get her?" Because she used to April Fools the shit out of us as kids, like ruin our mornings
as you do
as like
kids.
10-year-olds. And so I was like, "All right, I'm gonna get her with this Rockies." I'm like, "Hey, mom, did you see the news? The Rockies are playing this last season in Colorado, and then they're moving to Nashville." And I thought for sure, like my mom's a little kooky. I thought for sure she was going to be kind of out there and be like, "Oh my God, really?" Like I hit her with that. Well, my brother ruined it and was like, "Hey, it's April Fool's Day." So I'm like, "Dude, you ruined my joke." Like I could have had her because she got me back with the April Fool. She goes, "The Broncos are moving to New Mexico." Ha! I was like, "You're
yeah, dude." Marissa hit me with the "I'm pregnant" this morning. Over
did
text.
It get you
for a second? Because I was like at the gym. I was with Yaya at the gym. I had just seen him, and I get this text. Marissa's in Chicago,
pure white,
and she sends me a picture of the little pregnancy test, and it has like one little like, kind of like you can barely see it line, but it's enough. Like if you can barely see the line, it's enough. And she's like, "I'm freaking out. What does this mean? Like I could barely see the line." And I'm like, "Dude, if you're telling me over text that you're pregnant, like right now, I am going to never talk to you again. Like we're getting divorced today." So I called her and I'm like, "I know you better than that." And she's like, "What day is it?" And I'm like, "Oh shit."
Oh,
you're right.
You.
She totally
incredible.
got me. So shout out to Marissa. We are not having a kid. Thank goodness, because I got to get through this hell of a baseball season we have in front of us before we. we got some time, man. All right, got to hit our last break. After the break, we bring in our boy Nate to talk about torpedo bats. Will the torpedo bats save the Colorado Rockies? That is coming up next here on the DNVR Rockies podcast. Got to give some love to our friends over at Toyota. Toyota is the official vehicle of the Colorado Rockies, of DNVR, of all of our sports here in Colorado, and there is a reason for that. They are the best when it comes to just giving you the vehicle you need, right? Like, we don't need to make it too fancy. It doesn't need to be too complicated. You need a good car that can handle four-wheel drive, all-wheel drive, the off-roads. They've got tons of options. 4Runner, Tacoma, Tundra, all of those cars. You need a good SUV that can take you to one place to another with kids in the back seat. Highlander, RAV4, right? You want more sporty, go with the nice Toyota Camry. Like, so many different choices. They've got hybrids. They've got everything. So visit your Front Range Toyota stores at a location near you. AutoNation Toyota, Arapahoe and Centennial, Corwin Toyota in Boulder, Groove Toyota in Littleton, Mountain States Toyota in Denver, Stevenson's Toyota East in Aurora, and Stevenson's Toyota West in Lakewood. Toyota is the official vehicle of DNVR. Also got to give some love to our friends over at UC Health, because the DNVR Rockies podcast is presented by, and brought to you by, I should say, UC Health, the official healthcare partner of the Colorado Rockies. And I have been going through this journey this last few weeks, maybe last few months, trying to get on the healthy train. Right, we're going to Mexico soon. Got to be going to the gym. Yaya and I, we're there every morning, just getting our reps in. Yeah. I see Yaya over there. He's squatting, 600, just loaded up. 4 plates each side, just absolutely loaded up. No, even little stuff like just going to the gym every morning, getting on the treadmill, getting some weights in your hands, going on a walk outside with your dogs. I don't know if it's going to get me where I want to go by Mexico. I don't know if I'm going to be looking like Zac Efron by then, but we're getting close.
Yeah,
Zach Stevens.
My diet started today, so not only will I be grumpy because of the Rockies, but I've cut out all sugar and everything else. So I will start to be grumpy the rest of the month.
But I will say, as someone who's given up sugar for 3 months now, it sucks the first month, but you start feeling good after a while.
Yeah, and I know I'm gonna feel good in like 2 weeks, like physically, so I'm excited for that. But the inevitable wear down and my late night snacking that I enjoy doing has to be cut out. So.
Yeah, just pound the fruit, man. That's all you got to do. Just bananas, apples. So those sumo tangerines at the store, man, incredible stuff. So yeah, like I said, learn more about living like there is a tomorrow. Go to uchealth.org for more information. UC Health, live extraordinary. All right, back here on the DNVR Rockies podcast, Christian Saez, Spencer Smith, and we've got our guy Nate, who I believe has called in. Is Nate with us? Nate, how's it going, buddy?
Good, you guys. I was so ready to prank you guys with like some Tovar out for the season news, and then you
Yeah.
went on this whole April Fool's tangent. I was like, I can't do it
Yeah.
anymore.
No, dude, we're locked in. My wife already got me. I can't fall for it twice. I will say it is a great day for those types of conversations because the Rockies, we're talking about them being like an inconsistent roster and stuff. The Rockies are the perfect team for that because like if you were Eric Simmons says in the chat, Herman Marquez might need to be traded. Like if you told me today that Herman Marquez was traded today, I'd believe you. Like I would be like maybe they did, right? Like there's anything could happen today. But the reality is the Rockies are not going to be doing that. The big story though, that's been circulating the headlines, and Nate, you quote tweeted, I believe it was Spilly's tweet yesterday, talking about the Rockies basically getting a shipment of torpedo bats coming in, and Chris Bryant being the first one to maybe try things out. It sounds like the torpedo bats might be a godsend for the Colorado Rockies. Is there any truth to the fact that the torpedo bats might save the Colorado Rockies offense?
Listen, the science of it is super fascinating, and I really like looking at it, and it totally makes sense. I had my buddy texting me who's brand new to baseball. He's like, "Are these legal?" I'm like, "Yes." He goes, Why haven't they thought of this sooner?" I don't really know, but I think the key for the torpedo bats for the Rockies, they have to make contact first before the bats can
That
actually
helps.
work for them.
Yeah, that does help. That really does help. And I don't know what our whiff rate is off the top of my head, but I was seeing it's bad. It's really bad. So the Rockies have never been a team that makes contact a lot. It's always been kind of a home run or bust offense. But you were around the guys a lot during spring training. You were there in the clubhouse talking to players and stuff like that. It felt like the confidence was there offensively. Where do you see the disconnect? Because I felt like going into this year, like the offense was not something we actually really worried about, despite how bad they were last year.
There's clearly a disconnect, right? I mean, in spring training, they were capitalizing on pitches that were in the zone, pitches that were even out of the zone. They were going where the ball was thrown. And you guys kind of mentioned it a little earlier, too. They're playing a couple of really good teams to start up the season. They're facing a couple of nasty arms, too, and they're not going to get any relief anytime soon with Zach Wheeler tomorrow, who finished, it's second in the Cy Young voting last season. So I think just right now they're facing some good arms. They're not facing the spring training guys like they were just a few weeks ago. So I think they're just trying to just kind of recoup and get adjusted to this season.
Yeah, I actually really like this comment here by Eric Simmons as well, asking about Herman Marquez. And I don't mean to like change gears too much because the offense I think the offense will figure itself out at some point for the Rockies standards. But I think pitching has always been the conversation point, the talking point. And I do think there's a world in which the Rockies starting pitching is just more stable. It's better. You've got guys that are healthy again. We saw Senzatella and his numbers in spring training, how he was a franchise best, pitcher for the Rockies in spring training. But Herman Marquez is interesting because if he continues to pitch well and you start to look at like guys that you could possibly get some value from long term, do you see Herman Marquez as a long-term piece for the Colorado Rockies, or is that someone that you would like to possibly have on the trade block for the Rockies this July?
If I was running...
I was going to go ahead, Nate. I was just going to say, I think to me, he's been a Rocky for so long that it feels scary to trade him.
Yeah.
But I'd be curious to see what Nate says, because if you're looking at guys that just straight up have value, it's probably him if he continues what he did yesterday.
Yeah, what do you got, Nate?
It was him, and it was Nolan Jones too. Obviously, they let him go already. But you guys kind of talked about it earlier with how this team is with their pitching and how, it's probably going to level out. The water level going to kind of be what it normally is in terms of pitching for Colorado. Look, let's face it. There has never been an era in Rockies history where the pitching has excelled. And honestly, starting pitching and even bullpen pitching has a void coming to Coors Field just because kind of the nature of the altitude and how the stuff doesn't work as well. So I think if I were running the Rockies, a strategy I would go would be rebuilding the Blake Street Bombers. Get the best bat you can with Herman Marquez. If you ship him off to, a contender, they could give you a young bat, and that builds up the youth movement even more, and it bolsters your lineup a little bit more potentially for next year or the year after.
Yeah, and I do think the Rockies are kind of headed in that direction because of the signing of Charlie Condon. You look at a Charlie Condon, draft last year, and there was a lot of us kind of scratching our head saying, do you need him at that position, right? Like, you already kind of have those positions locked down. Now, granted, you never really draft a guy looking at like positioning long term, just because it takes so long for guys to get to the majors. But it showed that the Rockies were very much prioritizing heavy sluggers. And I don't know. I feel like we're living in a world where, like, you're not the Blake Street Bombers anymore, but I feel like we're going to start seeing home runs catching back up. Tovar had 20 plus home runs last year. Doyle had 20 plus home runs. I think there's a world in which Michael Toglia, if he gets hot, could end up with 35 or more home runs this year. Maybe that's pushing it, but 30 plus home runs this year. Like, it's not like the Rockies don't have power. It's just about whether or not they can use that to kind of execute to long-term, game plans, being able to perform throughout an entire 9-inning game and not just have a one Hunter Goodman home run and that's it. So I think that's where I'm at with that. What do you think on that, Nate?
This could be going down, maybe a path you didn't really want to go into. But in terms of like the draft, and Rockies have the 4th pick, like, I've looked at a couple of guys, and there's been a few names that have rotated through. And as someone who is at Arizona State right now as a student, calling games there, covering things there, I'm kind of in tune with the college baseball world, and I know that Iva Arquette is a name that I really like for Colorado. I honestly think they might have missed out on Cags last year. I kind of had them getting Jack Caglione last year, and look how it's paying off for Kansas City. But I think right now, if you want to keep doing that Blake Street Bomber thing and get those big bats, get a toolsy guy who's very projectable, who has a very good frame. Yes, I know he's an infielder, but you could probably stick him at second base, or if you want to give McMahon an off day over at third. The left-handed slugger from Oregon State is just really, really impressive, and I think super projectable for a team like Colorado.
Yeah, I mean, there's and we'll talk plenty about draft and all of that kind of stuff. Remember, the Rockies have the 4th overall pick this year, but after that, they can have at minimum only a 10 pick, or is it over 10? I think they can only have up to 11, I believe, is my understanding of that, because of the anti-tanking rules and all of that kind of stuff. So this is really it this year, like, when it comes to drafting top guys. And so we're definitely paying a lot of attention to that. But speaking of draft, Mickey Moniak was a guy who in 2016 the Rockies were seemingly in on. And Bill Schmidt will tell you he feels like he kind of missed out on Moniak back then. Obviously, it didn't pan out. Maybe it's better that we didn't get Mickey Moniak, because now we have him now on the team as it is. 2 at-bats. He had a strikeout, but he also had a home run in his first ever at-bat with the Rockies. You and I haven't talked since that Moniak home run. How do you feel about Moniak? Again, small sample size, but do you feel like that, like he would be a better DH than Chris Bryant at this point?
I feel like he is the perfect player to have as your 4th outfielder / bench player, where we saw the pop. I mean, if anybody bet Mickey Moniak, like, if you could bet which Rocky was going to homer first, he was not only, he might have been last on the list behind some pitchers because he wasn't even on the roster and he wasn't.
Yeah, not a single person said his name.
But seeing that pop in a pretty high leverage moment for him, and the ceiling is there. If you're drafted 1st overall, I mean, that's obviously an insane ceiling. Doesn't necessarily always work out, but the fact that he still is in the major leagues 9 years past when he was drafted means there's something there. So he's the perfect guy to become a Rocky and be like, hey, if something's here, great, but if something's not, then you're not part of our future plans. We just move on.
Nate, I feel like you wrote an article on this that we're going to release later here soon about making kind of sense of the Nolan Jones trade and that deal and all of the domino effects that happened after that. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this is just my perspective, but I felt like when they got Mickey Moniak, things kind of clicked into place where you're like, okay, it makes a little more sense. Maybe we'll see if this is the right or the wrong move. Maybe Nolan Jones goes out and plays incredible this year and we're sitting there punching ourselves for getting rid of him. But once the Mickey Moniak move was made, you thought, okay, maybe you do need a little bit more depth in those positions, and you moved on from Sam Hilliard. Like, did that feel the same to you when we picked up Moniak?
Yeah, it did. And you said just what I was just going to say. It made even much more sense when they DFA'd Sam Hilliard. And it feels good to have that depth in the outfield now, and kind of off Moniak, but then thinking about the Tyler Freeman move. How good does it feel to have Kyle Farmer now, those two guys in the infield, because that could have very well been Kyle Farmer who took that pitch off the wrist. And so, but instead it was Tyler Freeman. And now it looks a lot more smarter to have those two backup infielders there. I know at first everyone was pretty emotional about what was going on with that trade. I 1,000% get it. I was kind of like that too. I was scratching my head a little bit there, but now it looks like a pretty good move now.
Yeah, and just a heads up for anyone watching on television right now, head over to thednvr.com to continue the conversation. We are going into overtime here on the DNVR Rockies podcast. I think it's interesting to see how the pieces have aligned at this point. I wouldn't say the Rockies are there by any means yet. Obviously, they're not. It's just I feel better about the trade now than I did, going into all of that. And I do think the ceiling's pretty high on Mickey Moniak. I want to change gears just to wrap up the show, though, because Rockies are debuting their new food items coming up here on Thursday. I get to do the media walkthrough, taste all of the new food, and see what's going on. I don't know, what specific. I think we talked about, what was it, the nachos that they had, the cinnamon churro nacho type thing that they had coming out. But I'm curious to see what types of foods they actually bring out. Is there a fan favorite that's your favorite, aside from the Rockies dog and whatever, that kind of stuff? Is there something that you're like, I go to Coors Field every single time for this food item?
The Helton burger is incredible.
Yeah.
It's top notch at the Rocky Stadium. And then I'm just a big pretzel guy. Get any type of pretzel you can get in my mouth, I'm in. So
big pretzels,
yeah,
pretzels guy.
Big, massive pretzels guy.
Big pretzel guy. Nate, I know you've never been to Coors Field yet. We got to make sure that changes at some point. I've got to ask you though, favorite ballpark food. Is there one that stands out to you?
Oh, I got one. Growing up in San Diego, obviously was a Padre fan, admitted that on Twitter the other day. This is a new development though at Petco Park, the Seaside Market tri-tip nachos. Incredible. I would love to see them toe to toe with the desert nachos at Coors Field. A little more sweet as opposed to the savory, but I'd love to stack those two up against each other.
He's making me hungry. It's making me hungry. RG and I are going to be there. We're going to do a little short video on all the new food that you could have at Coors Field. So, hey, if the Rockies are blowing seventh inning leads, at least you can have a couple Coors Lights, some good food, and it's still a good time. So, yeah, Nate, appreciate you coming on as always. Appreciate you guys in the chat for hanging out. You guys can follow Nate at Nate Mills Media on social media. You can follow us at DNVR_Rockies. We are ramping up as we get ready for the home opener. We're going to have lots of content coming out over the next few days. Got a little, mini package that's going to be posting here soon. Yaya's been cooking in the graphics design lab. Spencer and I are just going to be sitting here, complaining about the Rockies. It's going to be good. We have you covered on all different angles. So thank you guys for hanging out with us. We'll see you next time. This has been the DNVR Rockies podcast, brought to you by Bet365. So long.
We all silly like the mayor.